Welcome to Surfside Stories. Well, I am so lucky to have back in the studio today a duo we did a few weeks ago, and I got to tell you, it was a fantastic podcast. If you haven't seen the one with Rick and Lisa, you need to go back and watch it. But you can watch this one first. So here we are today. Lisa, you know what I need to know? How you got into music, how you got started, and how you came into beach music.
All
That's
right.
what the fans want to hear.
They want to hear it. All right.
Yeah.
Quite a story, too, just like Rick's.
Yes, it is.
So I guess mine would start out possibly even before I was born, if that makes any sense at all. I was
You're
blessed.
singing in the womb.
I was singing in the womb, singing in the womb. And when you hear what I'm about to say, I was blessed to be born into a Christian, God-fearing, God-loving family. It was a very musical family. My dad sang the bass in the choir. My mom was the church pianist for over 40 years. And so I suspect, when I meant by what I said before, I suspect that even before I was born, my little head was laying right there, hidden right there on that piano stool, piano edge, while she played all the beautiful hymns. How great thou art, Amazing Grace, all those, and those songs permeated, my little brain. I think because I have always loved music, like Rick. It just kind of your DNA is what drives you a lot of times. But unlike Rick, I took a little different path getting into music. But at about 6 years old, I started taking piano lessons, and so I was what they say. My music teacher at the time, she says that I was like an easy for me. I was her star pupil, and it was easy. I loved it. It was easy to play the piano, to understand the music, and right away, almost I wanted to be playing songs on the radio. Not just the three blind nine, na, 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 all those little basic things you have to play. But I was a quick study. I was a quick learner, and I played the piano. I did not sing until later in life. So the first part of my life, when I got to be about a teenager, I began playing in church. I was accompanying the choir and playing, kind of following in my mom's footsteps. And
So when did you actually start singing then?
well, it won't be till like the mid-90s, but I got a couple of things to share about playing the piano. Was kind of a fun journey, but it was my attachment to music, and like Rick, I had lots of musical influences from Christian music, Gaither music, and all the music of the church. And then I was the youngest of a very generational kind of family, so my oldest sisters were into the 50s and 60s kind of music. My brother was into the 70s kind of music, the classic rock, and then I, of course, had 80s and all that kind of music. So all those musical influences were part of my upbringing too, and I loved all of it. So it's hard for me to pick one favorite kind of thing, but I loved music. Our whole family, they sang in church. One of my sisters, my second older sister, actually traveled in a very popular gospel band back in the 70s. So she was very, very talented, is very talented too. But again, for most of my adult life, my path, I went to college, and I'm climbing that corporate ladder and learning all kinds of things that now work to our advantage is band on the business side of things. So all things have a purpose in life. But I spent some time doing some musical theater, playing for musical theater, and I loved all of that. Those different types of Broadway type songs, and you should see the chord charts in if you get a score from one of those official Broadway type plays. It's not, the music is not written out. It's codes. So it expanded my abilities as a piano player and a musician as well. So that was, and as part of all that, I was part of a jazz band based out of Smithfield, North Carolina. And the leader of the band one day picked up the phone and called me. He says, "Hey, the Shirelles are coming to town, and we need to be a backing band. Can you come play?" I'm like, yeah, okay. Because I remember the Shirelles from my sister's music, and I love "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow," "Soldier Boy," all those things. So I was very excited, and I got to play, one concert with the ladies, and it wasn't all the different ones. It was which one was it? Was it Mary Wells? I can't remember who was still there, but one of the original ladies was part of the band, and then the other two. But that was one concert that was very memorable, and so again, it wasn't until the 90s. My husband and I were living in Smithfield at the time, and we moved back home. My mom had just passed away. My dad had passed away back in 86, so 93. So we moved back at around 94, and I reconnected with my home church. And of course, my mentor, my musical piano teacher, she was the music director at the church as well. And We were working, me and Debbie, that you mentioned before. Debbie is the bass player in our band, and she's also my niece. Some people forget that, but she's my niece, so we have that family connection. And it's one of the reasons that drives our harmonies, I think. But we were sitting at the piano. Debbie and I were leading the youth group, and the other girl, Heather, was in the youth group, and we were just trying to teach them some music so they could sing in church. I sat down. We were playing Point of Grace music on the piano. So I was playing, and we just all started singing just to test it out. And Heather's mom, her name is Mary Della. She's my mentor. Yeah. But Heather's mom, sister mom, she just stood straight up and she said, "That is beautiful harmony, beautiful harmony. Y'all are going to sing on Sunday morning." And that was the first official moment that I began singing. Up until that point, I'd always just been an accompanist and a piano player, and doing my things in my own right. But as far as
you were discovered,
I was discovered. That was the moment I was discovered as a vocalist.
Yes, as a vocalist.
As a vocalist. I mean, we as a trio began singing, and this was again the late '90s, and the harmonizing, as Rick was saying when he saw us, it was always natural to us. There was never any work that had to be done. We got a piece of music, we heard the song, and we just naturally went to our parts. And I've learned the older I get that not everybody can do that. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant kind of way. There's a the kind of singing where you can sing the lead note and that's it. Harmonizing is quite different, and there's a lot of people that don't do that. And I just thought that was natural that everybody could do that. And so it was what I say that because it was quite a unique and I think divine intervention kind of thing for us too. We formed a little group and we called ourselves In Accord, in apostrophe accord, and we began singing at churches and festivals around. We went to Anderson, Indiana, sang for our church's big international convention where there were thousands of people there, and we sang at the racetrack. Being from Darlington, we had a connection there, and we sang as a trio several times for different races there, and just all around doing just what bands do, just playing. And unlike Rick, we were doing cover music, and it was just the three of us, so we were using tracks. At the same time, I began writing music as well, and it kind of all converged. I've always been a writer, but it all converged when I started singing, and I began then writing as a way to express my faith at the time.
When did you start writing?
Officially around that time, around I've always been a doodler, so I would write down little notes. My mom was that way. When she passed, we were cleaning up things, and she would always write little notes down. And I was the same way. I was just kind of writing little thoughts down, and not necessarily thinking that I'd be a songwriter, but just thoughts, And so at that time, when all of that began to happen, and we began singing, and I guess it was a spiritual awakening for me too. My faith is very important to me, always has been, and always will be. And so I began writing the music as a way to express my faith and to be able to share about Jesus through our music in our shows and things that we did as a trio. And again, one thing leads to another. I get enough songs written, and doors open for me to produce the music. This was pre-Rick, so I created my first CD. I loved country music, and there was a movement at that particular time in Nashville with Christian country and inspirational country. And I decided to take my music out to Nashville, made several trips, did the, promoting thing, hooked up with a company that would promote, and really did have some very interesting success that will be for another time. Yeah. But my music did chart on a lot of the inspirational charts, and I did get the opportunity to play at some pretty interesting places like the ACO Theater and TBN Network, and just several different things like that. And again, it's one thing led to another and to another and to another, and the trio became a band. I also was the worship leader at my church in Darlington. Okay. So was the worship leader, and that band we took on the road to some festivals. And again, it just like Rick, one thing leads to another and to another, and as things evolved, things changed too. And I was really, I guess that was about when I was doing my band thing, when I met Rick, and things were changing and people were having to move elsewhere and not do music anymore. So when I met Rick, really, again, as I said earlier, I was at a crossroad myself. I was like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing for me? And the next thing I think was Rick. And that's when we got together and
meant to be.
was meant to be. I really do, and we have such a great friendship, and our music is. I help him, he helps me. He helps me more than I help him, but we really now evolved into that team of where we rely on each other for a lot of things. Maybe not necessarily writing the words, but just if he writes a song, I promote it. I do all the business side of things for our efforts and promotional things. So it really has evolved into a team of people. And now, once since 2009, we're sitting on, as of today, 33 number one songs in Carolina Beach Music. We've won 27 of the Carolina Beach Music Awards. We every year we're double digit nominations, and this year we're blessed again. And
That's quite a tribute to the talent of to it. Really is. Yeah.
well,
Quite a tribute.
talent, and a lot of support from people too. We do have a wonderful
You
support.
have that support, content, and talent. I firmly believe that. I also believe very firmly the Lord works in mysterious ways.
He does.
He does, and I think in the music industry, it's very much so. And put the two of you together.
Well, everybody has a perspective on music. I look at my music. It started as, again, a way to sort of share my faith. While I may not stand on every stage and sing a Christian song, I do have Christian praise and worship music that we do sing in our shows. There's a song called "Every Day, Lord" that a lot of people like to hear all the time. We sing that back at Christmas. I released a song called "I've Got the Joy," and it is a faith based song. It talks about birth of Christ and that's why you have the joy. So I guess where I was going with all that is that my heart is in a place where I want to use music to uplift people. I want when they come to our shows, I want them to leave feeling better than they did when they came in. I want them to feel uplifted. I want them to be encouraged and inspired and smile. And that may sound very simplistic and stupid, but it is a purpose in life. Is that um, and I think Rick can speak for himself, but his music is also very positive energy, and it's why when you say I think it attracts people that like that. It attracts people that need a little extra something, and I'm happy to give it. I'm happy. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to give it out there. So
I have never been to a single one of your concerts that did not have. I mean, you are consistent with it. That's what people love you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and again on the fact that Rick and I chose a long time ago to do all original music. I know that's a different path than what everybody else does. It does. It's not. It doesn't make us better, worse, or different. Whatever. It's a choice.
Yes.
We made that choice to just do our music because we seem to get more positive feedback when we do that. And there's plenty of people out there doing all those other songs. So we chose this as our path and our niche, and
But it's been successful. You said what, 31?
33 number
33 number one?
on various charts out there.
So it's been successful.
It's very successful, and we're real blessed by that and thankful, for it. So it's what we do. Just like what you do is what you do. We don't know anything else to do. And so I'm grateful for those that are interested enough to come. If you've never seen us perform and you want to get a little bit of that joy, then you need to check out our website and come see us. And we appreciate all those that already know about it and come and they tell their friends and they come out. And it just keeps it going.
Do you have one particular story that you remember that you'd like to share with us? Something that happened anywhere in your years of music?
Story.
How about when you sang for the the national anthem for the Darlington Raceway?
Oh,
Well, I mean that was just a couple years ago, and
But you've done it several times.
I've done it several times, and I've been on national TV a couple times with that, and it's always a wonderful thing to do
that's
that.
always quite a crowd down there to be singing for.
It is. Millions of people on TV all over the world. There are lots of stories that we can share, and the ones that are most precious to me is when someone comes up and says this song touched me in this way or the other, or When You Look at Me was my first real song out in Carolina Beach Music, and it was number one. It set the record on the surf countdown of the contemporary countdown for like 13, 14 weeks at number one. It just recently was broken a few years ago, and it was the song that I won my first two Grammys for, Sweetie of the Year and Songwriter, actually, too. And on that, and I this is a little fact. I'm always into facts. I like
I
details.
love
Like
it. Yeah.
I was looking at the Cami website because I could not remember if another female had won the songwriter award. And if you go out on the Cami.org site, and you can see all the previous winners from the years past in the songwriter category.
Great question.
There is no other female songwriter that has won the award. I'm not saying they have not been nominated, but I am the only female out there amongst the likes of Rick Strickland and Gerald Johnson and Jim Quick and all these others that have won, males that have won this award. And as it's stated on the website, you can go check it, everybody. So little things like that are very precious to me.
Lisa?
Just know that I'm able to accomplish it and stand with some of the big boys. That makes me feel good.
Can I add one thing to that? And then also, and I got to brag on my girl here. When we first got together, I was the guy who had the experience as a record producer.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, generally in the early days, Lisa always had a lot of ideas about how she wanted her music to sound, but I was the producer. I was the guy going, okay, well, that's a good one. That's not maybe as good. We would shape it together. But I was basically in charge. I have an exact moment that this happened. All along, like I said, Lisa always had great ideas, and she's a terrific session player. I mean, just as good as anybody I ever worked with.
Yeah.
Better, really, than anybody I ever worked with. Well, we were doing a song, and I can tell you the song. It was a song called "You're the Only One for Me." Yeah, thank you. And we were working on that, and we had been doing stuff, and all day long, Lisa was not only participating in the arranging part of it, but she was doing a whole lot of stuff that producers do. And at one point, we were about to finish it up, and I looked at her. I said, "You do realize this is like a co-production, right?" and Lisa was like, "Yeah, I guess it is." So from that moment on, for everything we've done since then has been co-production. So she's also, as far as I know, the only female who's ever won awards as a producer.
Oh, wow. Let me ask you this. I'm not changing the subject, but I am. Since you're so into beach music and you not only play it, but you write it, produce it, what is beach music?
Well, one thing I meant to say too about it is I knew growing up in Darlington, I was aware of beach music, but I was not in the genre or in the scene. My parents didn't go to the clubs, and my sister they didn't go. So we were not. We were aware of it, but we were not in it. So my first, I guess, step into it was when I met Rick and became a part of all that. And so by definition, it's hard to define. What is, and you got a lot of people that talk about all kinds of shades of it. But I see beach music as one of 1,000 other genres in that big wheel that's music, right? Yeah. There's country, there's rock, there's all kinds of genres, and we're over here in beach music, and like every genre, there are certain particulars about each genre that make it what it is. And for me, I think that what beach music the core is, and for most people, is that it's the songs from the 50s and the 60s. We celebrate those songs that were people's favorite songs back then, there's a list of, I don't know, 100, 200 or 300 songs or whatever that's considered. These are classic sort of beach music songs, and like all genres, it evolves over the years. But I do think it's driven by uh, the users, the fans of the music in any genre. That's what drives what beach music is. So what it was back then,
Yeah.
I don't think is what it is now. And since I've been in it, what I observe and what I see is that beach music really is what the shaggers can shag to, because that's the core. That they're not the same, but they're synonymous. Beach music and shaggers. Shaggers love that style of music, and even those specific songs from the 50s and 60s. But it has also graduated into a certain measure of beats and a certain style or certain thing, certain instruments that you use, just like country music is defined by dobros and fiddles and things like that. We don't hear that in beach music. That's not but that's not really a definition. It's just, what it is just today I think it is what shaggers can dance to. So that's why you see on charts, you see country, you see some rock and roll stuff on there, something that you would not originally think of, and it's certainly not from that original subset of songs that it was created from by all those R&B artists. So and they are very embracing of brand new music, like what Rick and I write, original music, and Rick is well aware of what it is that shaggers like, and we see it all the time. They come to our shows, they dance, so we kind of know the feel and the vibe, and I think that's one reason why our music is so endearing to them is because we write it for them. I mean, music is it's not why you do it, but people are important in any business that you're in. And so in the music business, the people who come to your shows, they're your audience and they're your clients, so to speak. And we're trying to appeal to them. And we're blessed that our people really like a lot of stuff. They like to line dance, and we even have people that come to our shows that like to do ballroom dancing and different types of things. And so as songwriters, to be very clear, I don't really pigeonhole us into one thing. We're not beach music songwriters. We're not rock and rolls. We're songwriters, and we write a song, and it comes out the way it is, just like a baby. It comes out with its own personality, and we can shape it how we want to because that's our prerogative as the songwriter. But a song is born, and it is what it is. And if you like it, great. If you don't, then you don't. And what we find is more people like it, like what we do in the beach music world than don't. So
I'm sitting here thinking from what you're saying. How do you decide when you're writing a song what makes it fit into the beach music world rather than the beach per minute?
sometimes it's a lyrical too.
Yeah.
The lyric is, we like to keep our music happy and feel good vibes, and I think that's very much ties in with beach music. It's a very lighthearted kind of music. Some of our deeper music, we're surprised, when I say deeper music with the like Last Thing on My Mind, something like that, with a very thought provoking, message to it. It was
But the timing on that was good.
It was a huge hit. People loved it, and so sometimes it's the lyrics, sometimes it's just the beat. Chime in here too. Your answer.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about it is that I can't speak for her, but I'm certain that she would agree with this. With me, I just can't think of it like that. It's like I write what I write.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I do it like I think I'll do it. Now, luckily for me, and I think for both of us, we're both groove oriented, as musicians, and me especially because I started as a drummer. The first thing I played was drums.
Okay.
So I'm always attentive to the compliments we get all the time is that from the DJs is that our songs are always at the right tempo and and all that kind of stuff, and it's not anything we put a lot of thought into. I'll be honest with you.
It comes natural.
It comes natural to us because that we like. It just so happens, luckily for us, that a lot of the feels that the shaggers like, we also like.
Okay.
So we tend to write in those feels a lot because we just enjoy them.
Is that what you call the groove then?
The groove, yeah.
Yeah.
And and we're attentive to that, in the sense of, but only in the sense of getting it right, getting the pocket right for the song. So, but luckily for us, when we get it right for the song, it's almost always right for the shaggers.
Okay.
And I would say, I think Lesa very eloquently explained, like the beach music, the core of beach music, the core of it is the shaggers, and so, nowadays it's like she indicated, it's the music they listen to is all over the place. Now, initially it was like basically a list of about 50, 60 songs that all came from the 60s and the 50s and some from the 70s. And even as long ago as when I was playing with Shag Time and Band of Oz, like I said, 80% of the song list we played was those songs.
Yeah.
Now today it's all over the place. I mean, you got Bruno Mars, some country music, and but whatever the shaggers can dance to it can be beach music, and that's kind of like the beauty of it is it's wide open as far as what you can do,
And make no mistake, we are eternally grateful to the beach music market. It's one of our proudest moments, to be able to write the song and then to put it out there and to see people shagging and dancing to it. That just makes my heart sing. But and we'll continue to do that. We're all on board for that. But there are other types of music. Like for example, I want to write a praise and worship album. I got several songs that I want to produce and release. A
Oh,
praise and
that'd be
worship. Now,
great.
praise and worship is not really something you get out there and shag to and dance
No.
to, but it's just a different kind of thing. But I'm going to release it, and I know our fan base well enough to know that they're going to love that music too. And Rick has music as well that's more introspective, and again, not necessarily beach music, but it's a home that we found, and as Rick said earlier, we backed into it, but we're so grateful for it. We're grateful that anybody listens to our music. We're grateful that DJs like you and many others take our music and play it, and we just count it all good. So
Well, you know what?
yeah.
That sound, I think that means our time's up.
Not now.
It's been another great day. Enjoyed the session with you.
Thank
Enjoyed the podcast.
Thank you so
You
much.
guys
Yeah,
have
thank
been
you, brother.
wonderful. And thank you both. Thank you both. And we may have to do this again soon.
Yes,
we
we
got more
We
stories.
got lots of stories.
Yeah, we can come back a couple times.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.